Hey everyone, welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
So we've been working through just some org chart stuff at work.
Yeah.
And whenever that comes up, we always have to talk about titles. Like, what are people's titles? And,
hey, secretly, I love when we do this conversation, you and I, because your organization is not always typical.
No, right, yeah.
So I do secretly sort of look forward to these wackadoodle conversations.
Oh, so I'm running a wackadoodle kind of organization is what you just
sorry.
said.
Did I say that out loud? I don't think I said wackadoodle.
Let's go with like quirky. I like that better. Unique.
I like that too. Unique. Well, yes, every organization is unique. I'm okay with that too.
Well, I only wanted to talk about it because I do think it's really interesting how, a lot of my opinion on titles clearly comes from what I want off of a title, right?
Yeah. I think we're all like that. We're all like that.
So I don't like introducing myself really as the CEO
I know.
or the owner or the founder. I don't really like using those titles.
I know you don't. Even though you are all of those things.
Even though I'm all of those things, I will typically introduce myself as a company cruise director.
Yeah.
Which means that I just make sure the ship is going in the right direction and everyone's having a good time.
And you're holding a clipboard.
That's it. But
titles are funny with people, aren't they? I mean, they really are.
Yeah. And so then I've got some folks that really do not care about their title. Like even in like promotion situations or more responsibility situations, they don't like them. And there was a long time where I really ran the company with no titles really whatsoever.
Yeah.
And again, that was like a reflection of what I wanted, maybe not what everybody else wanted. But as we got bigger, it kind of became a problem because external people didn't know what anybody's function at the business was.
Yes. Precisely.
We have 63 associates. Like, what do y'all do?
Everything. All of us do everything.
And then there are some people who do want to show that movement in title.
Yeah. Yes. It's extremely important to a lot of people.
Yeah. And so I've been struggling just figuring out, how do I deal with that? How do I help people with that, even though it's not like inherent or ingrained in me?
Well, that's interesting too, because if you think about titles in general, titles represent all kinds of things. Titles represent your ego. Titles represent your lot in life. Titles can represent how high up in the food chain you are, or how close you are to people, whatever, to strategy, to even in families, that title can put you as a patriarch or a matriarch. Titles are a very, very big topic. So I agree with, but I agree with you that personally, not everybody has that same perspective right out of the chute.
Yeah.
I think that's really true. I actually kind of wonder if how important your title is to you can be mapped out on a personality assessment.
Well, that's a good question. Like if you're more, let's say introverted or assertive. Assertive is the one.
It's the A trait, the assertive trait. Because the, not the opposite, but when you look at on the scale, you either have high detail people that are more risk averse and cautious. And then you have the low detail people. I'm generalizing big style right now, but the higher A personalities, the more assertive personalities, often have more interest in the outside validation markers than someone with low assertiveness and high detail. Those people are more interested in something being done right as opposed to who gets credit for it.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. That actually might map with my experience of people's reactions to their titles.
Do I talk about it? I'm interested to hear.
I mean...
No, hell no, I don't. Oh.
What about, the other thing about titles that I think is interesting is, like you're saying, either people are kind of strive for a particular title or hang on to a title if things change, right? So if you've got change happening, they either want to keep their existing title
because it feels safe and they feel good about it.
Yeah. Or are reluctant to switch a title because they don't know how that will look.
Right. Right.
And
also, I think it brings up fear of not being good enough, by the way.
I think you're right that people use title as like a measuring stick.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So if you got that comparing thing going on, you really will latch on to that title as the thing that places you on that measuring stick.
Well, I also think, like, from a business perspective, certain industries and certain divisions of industries expect certain titles, right? So, like, I remember when I was in technology sales forever.
Let me talk to your manager.
Yeah.
Is there a manager in your title?
No, that's a car dealership, but that's the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the same thing where you have a sales rep or sales that has to go talk to the guy behind the curtain, the manager. Yeah, the manager. But even in, like, with my technology sales, we had all these different levels of engineers that would do all the, whatever. We sold networks. So we had network engineers. Well, even that was a hugely competitive position because there were different levels. So everyone treated you a certain way based on what level you were.
Yeah.
You just naturally were treated a certain way. It's like, oh, I need to take a big gun with me on this project deal so I can close it.
Yeah. So
well,
I'm
we
gonna
have this
get the SVP of this or that.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to get a level 3 networking engineer, and they'll be like, well, we have this level 1. Oh, that's because that's
you're trying to
indicator.
Like you're trying to show a customer, hey, we're bringing in the best we got.
Yeah.
And that's represented by a title.
Exactly.
Yeah, I find this whole thing fascinating because I don't know how else you like rank that sort of thing and use that as a tool in sales, but
all of sales. This is an interesting thing. The whole division of sales, department of sales, whatever, that is a place where titles make all the difference in the world. And there is a scrap for titles constantly. I remember one of the first real sales roles I had, straight commission, you were called a representative. Okay. Then you were, after you got a certain tenure, I think it was like 6 months, and then you had to have so many sales. Then you were called an account representative. Then you were an account manager. And then you were a senior account manager. But to get to that senior account manager was really difficult. You had to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. And in the sales organization of 750 salespeople, there were huge class wars over these titles. And you would covet the person's business card. We don't even use business cards anymore.
Like, what title's on the business card? Like, I got my new business card. It says senior on it.
Yes. That's exactly what would happen. That is exactly what would happen.
Send one to your mom so she can hang it on the fridge.
Mrs. Parker would do that. Hang it on the fridge. But also externally, you had more power in positions of trying to close business with a fancy schmancy title.
Yeah.
So I think there's real business reason why there are titles, but it is funny how you see certain companies manipulate titles.
Well, I'm going to make everyone a chief executive associate. across the board.
I feel like you're a little triggered with this topic this morning.
Okay. The other title that I personally sort of obsess about, I don't care about my work title.
Yeah.
What I do care about is my tennis ranking and the title thereof.
Should have seen this coming.
Because in tennis, in USTA, you are ranked by, like, they've got this scale of like how good you are, and it's a number scale.
Yeah.
So when you start, you're like a 1.0 or a 2.0. It goes like 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe the top is 7.
Do they call you bear cub?
Like everything in tennis, it's weird. But yeah, but at the sort of amateur club level, you got a lot of people who are like 3.0 or 3.5. You got some that are 4.0, and then like the really good ones hanging around the club are like 4.5. So everyone walks around with this label on them, and you can't play certain drills unless you're like in the right skill level, because they don't want like newer people that have been just crushed by, or it's not even fun for more experienced players to play with. I mean, it's fun, but like it's the point is to challenge each other, right? So they use that to bucket people in sort of the right group of skill.
Yeah.
But the way people walk around with their USTA level number, like written on their chest nearly, you know what I mean? Like,
well, how is that even socialized? How do you know what people's numbers are? Is there some kind of ranking board or something visible?
Well, there kind of is. There could be. But if you're on a league, if you're doing certain drills, you can't sign up for those things unless you're a certain level.
It's like being a Girl Scout.
Yeah. So like, oh yeah, got enough badges, right?
Yes, exactly.
So like the folks that are in like the 4.0 drill, like, ooh,
yeah,
those folks are good.
Big.
Yeah, because I'm not, others might not be allowed in that drill, or the 4.5 drill. 4.5 invite only is what it would say, like in the thing, right?
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to talk about like, in the personal world? Well, I think we all walk around, and then with those kinds of labels. But the thing that I think is so amazing about it is, and I don't know, this might happen to me. So,
okay, heads up.
Is you get you've maybe like worked over many years real hard at tennis and played a lot of matches and proved yourself into a certain ranking. And then maybe an injury happens, or you get a little older, and you're at that ranking, and you drop in skill level just because it's a very physical game. And this happens all the time at the club level. But you'll see people hang on to their 4.0 rating number well past their ability for it.
Wow. Are these all self-regulated?
No. So when you first get into it, you either, if you played in like high school or college, you start building this number. But then as you play other people with the USTA numbering system in events, it starts calculating it for you.
Oh, it calculates it for you. Hey, how would we all like that if there was a Big Brother system that calculated everything for us?
Right.
There probably actually kind of already is.
Yeah, no, right.
Now that I say that.
Yeah, watch it.
Yeah.
You're on to something. There'll be a knock at your door soon.
Yeah. So scary.
Come with us, miss.
I just got through reading 1984 again just because I was interested. That's a creepy book. Woo!
Creepy and soon to be accurate? Is that?
Yeah. Lots already accurate. Yeah.
But anyway, this idea that if you're moving down in some way, or what's perceived as moving down, people really hang on to those labels far past when they probably should.
Well, and conversely, if you start anything new that has any kind of system like that, you usually start at the word novice or amateur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many people like being part of amateur groups? They don't. Nobody wants to be an amateur. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. I only want to be an amateur if I am a pro, happen to show up there, not tell anybody I'm a pro, and then just like win.
Crush it. Then just crush it. But I think, you know what though? Like even think about family titles, right? We all have our own family titles. most of them are just because of the birth order or where we are in the family.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people have really strong opinions about what their titles are in their family? Like when I think about the titles that I have, what am I proud of? Right? Like, what are the titles that I'm proud of? And like in my personal life,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really proud of like being a godmother, or I'm proud of being like a quote adopted mom. I call myself that a lot with our kids' friends. I think there's a lot of pride that can happen with certain titles.
Yeah.
And are they real, or are they self-induced pride? I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you a lot of times titles are even, we're talking about like titles / kind of like labeling yourself a little bit,
or being labeled.
Yeah, like I a lot of times, like if I want to self-label myself, self-label, that's good English there.
Cruise director.
Yeah, sometimes they're aspirational.
Oh,
right. Like I don't know, super uncle or something. Like, am I actually that? I don't. Probably not.
Yeah. Do you know what else is interesting? Like, aspirational that's a very good thing to think about too, because if you have a title, okay, let's say you want to be a good speaker, right? You speak once. Do you call yourself a speaker? Do you tout that label, speaker?
Like, you spoke. You're a spoker.
You know what I mean, though?
Once.
So then and this is a really big thing in my industry, right? It's like keynote speaking.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be a keynote speaker?
Yeah.
Right? Versus a speaker.
Right. Well, that's such a subjective question, because what you're trying to do is get to authority, right?
Yes, exactly. Influence.
Like,
we're trying to get to influence.
Yeah. Were we podcast hosts on episode 2? Yeah. I don't think so. Maybe others would say like, yeah, we are. You did it. Right?
What number is this? Is this 223 or 224? Are we podcast hosts yet?
Maybe.
Like, when does that
I'm getting to
happen?
maybe, kinda.
Till we have an injury, then we're going to dump back down into novice.
Yeah, right.
Till one of us falls down the stairs.
My ankle.
Oh, well, it's funny though how we talk about this, because we've talked a lot about the titles, but we haven't really talked much about how we feel, and how we can, does title influence how you feel about yourself? Okay.
Yeah. So, like, here's one, like, the title of mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna ask, like, have you ever felt like not a great mom in the past?
Yes.
So then you have this title of mom. You don't feel like you're a good mom.
Yep.
And that feels terrible.
I know. Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to have the title because you don't feel like you've earned it or you're good enough to have it. Yeah. So
and even one as
really
fundamental as mom or dad.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
I felt that too. And it's just like, that's a terrible feeling.
I know. But if you think about it, it's all self-induced. All of this stuff is self-induced. I mean, I think our world has to have titles because I think that there are rules and there are positions for everything. There just is, But the way that we take those in is so interesting to me, because you started the conversation with talking about individuals that like have high skill in something and are clearly masters of something. Everyone around them knows it, but that person is unwilling to see it themselves or unwilling to take it because of either humility, being too humble, or not thinking they're good enough. That's an interesting thing that happens too. It's like, when can you step into something that is clearly yours, but you don't feel deserving of it?
Yeah.
Like, that's also ego, isn't it? That's the shadow side.
Oh yeah, the shadow side of ego. We should talk about that more.
Yeah.
That should be another conversation.
Yeah, because having ego is very important. The ego is self. That's not bad. Having an ego is not bad. It's when you overextend it or overuse it or have an inflated sense of it, that it becomes a challenge for you and other people around you.
Yeah.
I think title sits right in there.
Yeah. Let's talk about like, well, first, your assertion that we need titles to make kind of sense of the world.
Yeah.
I think is true. But
I was waiting for you to say, I don't like it.
I had such a reaction. You said that. I was like, I have such a reaction to that. The reaction to it is because I fundamentally don't like hierarchy. I don't know.
Yeah,
this is the thing.
I know
it's
you don't.
so
You
ingrained.
never have.
I don't like hierarchy. I do like territory. I do like territory.
Interesting.
Like, this is my thing.
Here's my patch.
Get off my yard.
Oh my God.
And if anyone wants to like really understand what I mean by that, the book The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield explains why artists like territory, not hierarchy. And it comes fundamentally, I think, from this artist point of view, where I want to be the master of a thing, and that's my domain. I'll protect it, but it's not in a hierarchical system. So anyway, off that soapbox. Let's talk about aspirational titles, because I kind of like, where's the line? You were talking about like, hey, if I want to be a speaker and I did one speaking event, can I label myself a speaker now, or what does it take? Like, like, and I know you love the fake it till you make it mentality.
No, I don't. I hate that.
Hard time.
I hate it. I hate it.
Oh,
sorry.
But where's like the line there? Because sometimes like an aspirational, like I want to be a senior yada yada. I want to be a 4.5 Tesla. I want to be a when do you start using those labels as like a way to get motivated, or a way to like see the future for yourself?
Yeah, that is a very good question, and I don't know the answer to that. Other than I guess my intuition kind of pinged when you started to ask that question, and the only thing that came up for me is, there's a feeling inside when you've mastered something. There's a feeling inside of you that if you can be honest with yourself, you can say, wow, I did a good job with that. I'm going to do a couple more just to make sure I feel good about that.
Yeah.
When you're having that kind of honest relationship with yourself, I think you sort of build off something and you feel happy and excited. You can feel inside that it's a good place for you. To me, that is when you can start, then that's when there's a natural way that you just find yourself seeing yourself that way. It's almost like how you see yourself deeply, not
right. That's exactly that. So if you want to apply like the law of attraction to that concept.
Yes, that's so good. That's so good.
So if I don't feel like I am a like 4-0 tennis player,
right,
will I become a 4-0 tennis player?
Never.
So that title helps me get into the core feeling of the thing I want to be.
That's really
that's
good.
why I was like, I want to pull on that thread a little bit, because I also don't like the fake it till you make it sort of idea or culture, because there's a little bit of like, I don't know, falsity. In my circles, it's like this tech pro culture. It is false, and we don't want to live in a false scenario, but we do know, and we have experienced that if you can get yourself to really be in a space where you feel like like you are a thing, you will become the thing.
Yep, exactly.
Interesting line there, isn't it?
Yes. You know what I was just remembering? Oh my gosh. You know how I always have these hugely embarrassing moments in my life because I just am, not paying attention to something, and then it's so embarrassing.
Do share.
Oh, so years ago, I was doing strategic planning and teamwork with the No Name Steaks brand. Okay.
Their company name better be no name company or something like that.
It's not. It's initials of the president. Yeah. Anyway, so I was doing this. All right, I'm just going to describe to you. So we're in this really beautiful conference room that's overlooking this huge nature area, lots of high windows, really comfortable environment. It was just a great location. It was one of my most fun strategic planning locations I've ever had, and I've done so many. Well, I was sitting there doing this, and I was working with everyone. Well, there was one man who was there. This is early in my career where I didn't know better. Mm-hmm. I didn't know to have everyone tell their story before we got started. I didn't know to understand what people were interested and curious about and wanted to make sure that they participated in for the day, which is what I do now. But back then I didn't. I just like, let's go. Here's the agenda. And this man was sitting in the room for half the day. He was wearing overalls. He was a gray-haired, kindly man. He had a half smile on his face, and he was so calming. Just a gentle, kind person. I didn't know who he was. So I just kind of let him have his piece. I didn't really engage with him much.
Yeah, like it's nice that they let the custodial staff come to these strategic planning events.
Oh my gosh. It wasn't until lunch that we're in this lunch area where someone starts to address him. I realize he is the founder, the president, and current chairman of the board. These are examples of why it's important to know where people are in a business sense. Yeah.
Well, positive
so
you didn't treat him any different than anyone else.
I'm still absolutely mortified when I think about it. And this was honestly nearly 20 years ago, I bet. I'm still mortified.
This might be like one of the reasons I actually don't like sharing my title in big group settings because I don't want that. I don't want any
special... but you don't want to have people be embarrassed because of your lack of communicating what role you play.
Yes, there. Now that you say that, I feel like a jerk because I've definitely been in that situation where someone's like, oh my God, I didn't even realize. I'm like, so.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, I feel better about me.
Touche. I will be more forthcoming.
Well, it is difficult, though. It is difficult. I think there are certain, that you see companies that have 5 people and everybody's a senior VP, and then you see huge companies that are really, really relatively flat in terms of their management group, and they operate like a well-oiled machine. So,
we a great example. We work with Apple a lot.
Yeah.
And it is impossible to tell who does what at Apple because they all have these super generic, very simple titles.
Yeah.
You have no idea who's responsible for what. It's really hard to navigate from an external perspective.
Right.
And then anyone that of any power we've ever met at Apple acts so cool about like they're just
sure.
Like we just work for Tim,
Yeah.
Like the CEO, like they just refer to everyone as first names. They're super casual about everything,
yeah,
and
right.
It's an interesting approach. But you're right. Externally, it makes it very difficult.
Right, and we're all in the relationship business. That's what every single company is. It's in the relationship business. So I think it is important to understand.
I was in the tech business. Come on, I got into this because I like computers, not people.
Right. I got out of the tech business because I like people and not computers.
All right, cool. Well, congratulations on being a podcast host and
you too.
Bunch of other titles you carry around.
And a lawn protector.
Yeah. Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.